Hi guys, it's Molly. Today I will be reviewing a really amazing book by Tomi Adeyemi, and it is Children of Blood and Bone. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard of this book or seen it around on Twitter and YouTube and all that, because a lot of people have been talking about this book, and it's no surprise because it was phenomenal. It is the first book that I finished this year. Yes, it is July and I've only finished one book. I'm actually kind of disappointed that I began reading this book first, because it's probably going to be my favorite book of the year, and it's the first book I read this year. So that doesn't sound that promising for the other books that I'll be reading this year. I rated this book 4.75 out of 5 stars. It took me about 2 months. I really took my time because I started reading it during my studying period actually. But anyway, in case you didn't know, Children of Blood and Bone is basically about this girl named, what's her name, Zeely. Not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but that's how I'll be pronouncing it in my video. So Zeely comes from a family of Magi, or at least her mom was a Magi. Magi is basically somebody who has magical powers and all that. So in this kingdom called Orisha, magic has disappeared. Magis basically cannot do magic anymore because the king hates magic, very anti-magi, and basically he did something to wipe out magic across the land. So the main story of the book is basically where Zeely has the chance to restore magic along with some of the characters, and basically along the book we follow her journey towards doing that, and she meets a lot of really interesting characters and goes through a lot of obstacles to do that. And whether she does restore magic or not, you also have to find out at the end. I would say that this book is a cross between like the Grisha trilogy and the Throne of Glass series, but also a little bit of the Hunger Games as well. Even though it does remind me of a lot of other young adult fantasy books and dystopian books and all, it does also have its own gem and element to it as well. And I would say that the thing that makes this book special is the culture and the traditions and basically the world building of Orisha in the first place. There are no white characters in this book, which honestly is extremely refreshing, and I just love how it feels like we're reading normal characters. These characters are just no different from the other characters that we would normally read in young adult fantasy, and I think that that's so important to be shown in the young adult genre in the first place. So I love that a lot. I loved the writing. The writing was simple to get into, which was actually very impressive because there were a lot of terms and names that were either made up or in a language that I'm not familiar with. I'm not sure, but it's not your usual kind of language, and I thought that would actually disrupt my reading a little bit, but not at all. I actually really enjoyed it. It was fine. I loved the characters a lot. I loved almost all the characters. The character development was just amazing in this, especially for some specific characters, and I would say Zeely herself went through a lot of great character development, but I have to highlight why one of my favorite characters would probably be Amari. She's just so freaking badass. I love her a lot. And there were some other really great characters as well, like Zane and what's his name? Inan was also a really great character, but I don't want to spoil anything, so I'll let you guys read it. General plot was somewhat predictable. The things in between, that was quite exciting to go through. There were a lot of things that I didn't expect, and when I went through it, when I read it, it was very exciting, and I really just enjoyed it. It could also be because I haven't been reading this year. I haven't read a book for the past year, and especially fantasy books. It's been forever since I read fantasy, so it was also very exciting for me to get back into the fantasy books with a really good start actually. I really have to talk about the romance. I actually really enjoyed the romance in this a lot. Like, I found myself giggling and gushing to myself a lot while I read this. So my camera died again, and I really need to be better at this. So as I was saying, I think I was talking about the romance. I loved the romance a lot. I think it's just because I miss reading romance, especially in fantasy, because they're usually really good. And I just found myself gushing and like even blushing to myself with some of the flirting inside of this. But I really enjoyed the romance as well. I'm glad that it had really good romance, in my opinion. Yeah, but overall the book was really enjoyable. I had such a fun ride going through this. I didn't want the book to end, and I'm glad that there's gonna be a second book. Possibly a third book, I'm not quite sure about that, but I am also excited to hear that there might be a movie, which is going to be really, really great. I'm sure the movie's just going to be fantastic. Although it won't be able to do justice to the book because the book is just phenomenal, but I think it can come quite close because there's going to be a lot of magic and adventure, and the characters would just be casted really well, hopefully. Please read this book if you haven't. If you are hesitating to get it, don't hesitate, just go get it. You're gonna love it. Especially if you're a fan of fantasy. If you read it, let me know what you thought about the book. What did you agree with? What did you disagree with? I'd love to hear about that. And hopefully I will start reading more books so that I can post more content on my booktube channel, hopefully. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you guys in another video soon. Bye bye.